Hi again, welcome back to the Pipecast. So this is Pipecast number 2 with Harry and Dion. So we kind of got as far as we could last time and then realised that the camera's died on us.
The camera died.
Good old faithful recorder, audio recording. We managed to pick plenty up, but lost some footage. So we thought we'd give you guys a second bite of the cherry. And
because we spoke about some stuff that got caught, but then also we realised that there were some things that we would have said that we actually just forgot to. So this whole episode is year of pipe smoking stuff that we missed. This time I got nervous. So should we get right into it?
Let's go for it.
What are you going to smoke now?
So I brought my Falcon with me. I brought all 3 bowls because each one of them I've used for really heavily ghosting tobaccos. This one I've got pretty much just for my Condor. This one I've used quite a lot of Gamma Hogarth blends in, especially the Connie Cut. That was the last one that I smoked it in. But I'm actually going to go for a blend of my own, which is a little bit of Gareth Hogarth rum maple twist, black Irish rum maple twist, and just a little bit of Nordim tumbleweed
To sweeten it up.
So sweeten it up. Yeah, that's
Sounds
it.
good,
So we're gonna hit that up. So you can talk while I'm filling.
Good. I got a little navy flake in the Ben Wade Prince. Very nice little pipe. So we got a list of stuff we're going to talk about today. The first thing we didn't talk about is aesthetic choices in your choice of buying a pipe, because we did talk about buying a first pipe, and we spoke about the materials, but we didn't really get into the more aesthetic choices. So
shapes
and basically straight versus bend.
Yeah. That sounds so wrong.
Yeah. But straight versus bend in terms of pipe. So you got and that's like a straight Prince there, and then you've got a bend. I call that an acorn.
Yeah.
So straight versus bent. What are the main differences between the two? Are there any functional differences? I think the first thing to say is that in general, straight pipes 9 times out of 10 are gonna smoke better.
They're a bit easier.
Yeah.
I find them a bit less slobbery.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite a wet smoker, and I tend to get my first. I'm breaking all the rules really, because my first briar was the Peterson apple.
Yeah.
It's got a real bend on it, and don't get me wrong, like that 90-degree curved spline bend, love it. I absolutely love it. Hangs really nice. It's great for clenching, but it's a slobberer.
Yeah.
And I find it's much easier with a straight.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when the thing about the straight pipes are when they're drilling these pipes, obviously they don't have bent drill bits. They have straight drill bits.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to drill a straight pipe. So you're always going to have a pipe that's drilled better when you have a straight pipe.
Yeah.
Also, I think that because when you have a bent pipe, so if you take a look at that shank there, and it's kind of going up at an angle, whereas the shank on the straight pipe is just kind of going at a 90-degree angle from it. The straight pipe allows more moisture to escape. You find that when you're smoking a bent pipe, I find that more moisture collects. Just like you were saying, more moisture collects in there. So you have a wetter smoke. The thing in favour of the bent pipe, I think, is, like you said as well, it's more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because of the hang, it clenches more nicely. So it's more comfortable. But do you prefer a straight or a bent?
I'll be honest, like the aesthetic wise,
Yeah.
I think the bents look great.
Yeah, they do.
That's the typical sort of classic look, like the Sherlock Holmes,
exactly.
The old school bend, but like they feel so comfortable as well. So I love them. But that said, I've got most of my pipes are straights, and they're great for pointing with.
Right.
They are great for making a point.
The pointing pipe.
There's nothing that can beat it.
Can't do that as well with a bent pipe.
No, definitely not.
I know that when I started, I thought I was really all about bent pipes, and I was really all about church warnings as well. But quite quickly, I kind of moved away more towards straight. And I think now I prefer a straighter pipe.
Yeah.
I mean, there are like, quarter bents and half bents where there's like a more subtle subtle bend on the stem.
Like Blakemore.
Yeah, like the Blakemore Woodstock you've got, like a kind of like a gentle curve, a quarter curve I would call that. So there's some halfway. Yeah. If you want to.
And what about the bowl? Man, I mean that for me, because it's an aesthetic.
Yeah.
You've got obviously got all yours up there, and you've got to the different shapes. I mean, I've got the bulldog bowl on my Falcon tonight, and the billiard. But they all kind of have their own sort of style. They feel different in the hand. They tend to smoke a little bit differently too.
True. I mean, I think, like you said, the bowl choice is largely aesthetic. I wouldn't put too much stock in it. But I find that, I mean, I did touch on this roughly last time, but I find that in general, the dichotomy between bowl shapes are tall and narrower, and shallower but wider. And I tend to have trouble with the shallower but wider ones. I don't know what it is for me. They tend to come in hotter. I feel like with the taller and more narrow ones, you feel like there's more control over airflow, and you can slow down a bit more and cool down a bit more.
And you can always pack half a bowl, right?
True.
You haven't just got to whack it right to the top and take 3 hours to smoke it. You can just get a half a bowl in. And actually, maybe when you first start in and you're trying to get it carbonised nicely, maybe that's not a bad shout.
I'm going to write that down. Cake. We didn't talk about cake last time.
Yeah.
Cake. Let's talk about that.
Cake.
So that's the aesthetic choices out of the way. Let's talk about tobacco storage and pipe storage.
Yeah.
So tobacco storage, I didn't realise when I was starting that you couldn't just leave tobacco in the pouch, and you can't just leave it in the tin.
Yeah.
So when you bought tobacco and it's coming in the pouch, it's come out of a sealed tin or jar, and they put it in the pouch for you to either smoke very quickly or put away.
Yeah.
And when you buy a tin, when you crack the tin, you'll hear a hiss, and that's because it's been sealed.
It's sealed up,
so I let a couple of tins get dry and stale. So what you want to do is you want to jar your tobaccos up, so Dean's got a jar there.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, I was kind of a bit paranoid about it to start with. When I first started smoking that, I got the warning from you, when you'd kind of ruined that best brown flake. It's like, bro, you can have it. I've ruined it. It's sat in the tin. It wasn't that bad. It was.
That was the aged burley flake.
It was aged burley. Yeah, it was really good. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll pick some jars up. So the guys kind of go on about killing the jars, and don't get me wrong, like killing the jars are great. They're really good. But it can get a bit pricey, for what they are.
They are quite expensive.
£2.50, £3 a jar, and then I couldn't get one quick enough. There wasn't many places around me that sold them. And I just started picking up like jam and honey jars, like honey especially, because I like honey. They're great flavour, doesn't tend to kind of affect it too much. So get them in the sink, soak the labels off, and they've been great,
Fair play, man. Yeah, I got a lot of the Kilner Mason jars, the ones with the 2-part lid. So there's like a ring, and then there's the top that the ring seals into it. People I got a lot of recommendations for that, and it seems to be working well for me. You'll find that storing tobacco is a thing that some people do. Like they'll buy a lot of tobacco in bulk, and they call it cellaring. I've never done this personally, where they'll for a couple of years at a time they will store that in like a dark place away from the light, and it age. The tobacco continues to age while it's in there.
Wow.
I will say, although I haven't done any like long-term cellaring, like talking about years, I have put certain blends away in the jar that I didn't really enjoy at the time, but for whatever reason, I came back to them.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed them a lot more.
Yes, same. And they do age, and that they come out. You kind of get it out of the jar and think, oh, that was really wet when it went in. It seems to have dried a little bit. Yeah, it does. But it was still there, and it kind of crystallises. You don't lose the flavour. I think that's the most important thing. It keeps that flavour good.
Exactly. I know for one that this is a great thing for straight Virginias, because I mentioned this last time. Straight Virginias like to bite. They're really a bitey kind of tobacco. But quite recently, I put away some. I went back to some Samuel Garworth Best Brown Flake that I'd put away for a while, and that's not a particular biter really, but it had really mellowed out, and like a lot more of the sweeter, chocolatey, fruitier flavours had come out, and a bit more of that acidic, sour, citrusy had had gone to the back.
Yeah.
And it was a nice smoke.
Yeah, man. I did the same with the Condor. And the Condor was, but that kind of got put away. And that's an intense smoke to start with. Big flavours, big personality.
Yeah.
But then you kind of get it in the jar and it mellows a little bit, but then parts of it sort of seem to kind of they kind of stand out a little bit more, and it kind of gets a bit more character. The character changes a little bit. Like the berries. The last time I smoked it this morning fishing, I was getting berries off it. I was getting dark fruits, and it was stuff that I hadn't really noticed when I first picked it up. So that was quite straight. Yeah, that was after
smoke.
It is, but that was after storing it for a little while, coming back to it.
So yeah, jars are the best thing for that. Don't make the mistake that I did. Don't leave them in your tin. Don't leave them in the pouch, certainly. Get them in jars. It's really worth it. It's really worth your time. I did mention this on the last one, but if you did let it dry out, not the end of the world. You can rehydrate them. Some people like fruit peels. Put them in the jar with a bit of fruit peel, apple, orange. Yeah. They say that does impart a bit of flavour though.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've used with some success is get a brown coffee filter, just damp that filter and just put it in with the tobacco. Right. Let it stay in there for however long it takes that filter to dry up. Yeah. The tobacco's now reabsorbed that moisture and it works.
So rehumidify it.
Yeah, I've done it with some full Virginia flavour, done it with some Squadron Leader. Yeah. And it worked. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. So in terms of in terms of storage, where cupboards, don't leave it out. Yeah. Get it away from the light. It doesn't have to be anywhere sort of in a fridge or anything, or nothing like that. Nowhere sort of extreme. Keep it in a cupboard.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in a cupboard, just out of the light, really.
See, I'm lazy. I'm really lazy, and so I don't want anything to be too far away. So I open my cup and mug cupboard, and I send the tobacco straight in front of me. It's like, right, cup of coffee and a smoke, and it's all in one place. Perfect. And that works really nicely.
Yeah, I just put mine in a cupboard. It's dark, it's cool, and stays out of the light, and it's fine. Yeah. Now, for pipe storage, you want the opposite. Yeah. So when I first had my pipes, I had like a little wicker box that I put them in. Like I like to put them away in the little box. That's bad for your pipes because when you smoked a pipe, the bowl has collected moisture. Yeah. You want to dry that thing out. So you want to put it. I mean, this is why racks are ideal. Not only does it look good, but
it does good.
Yeah, it puts them out. It puts them out in the open where they can air. Yeah. You really want to give them a chance to air out. Don't close them up. Certainly don't put them in a sealed box or anything. You don't want a lid on them. You want to leave them out.
Yeah. Otherwise you'll end up with mold. You get mouldy. You can go stale. Yeah. It affects the flavour, and that's a whole different ball game with having to clean them up, scrape the cake back, and then I haven't used like vinegar and stuff to try and clean it. I've seen all sorts of stuff where they've tried to get rid of it, but in most cases, and in some cases, it can be it's fatal. Don't do that. Yeah. Get them out, especially when you first smoked them. Get your pipe cleaner through it, get it all swabbed out. Get it up on the rack, and then pick another one up for the next day. Yeah. For your next smoke.
And sunbathing them is a good move if you're if it's the right time of day and the light is coming through the window. Get them on the windowsill, let the sunlight get to them. Yeah, for sure. Dry them out.
Which is why I quite like the Falcon, because you're not having to dry an entire pipe out there. Right. You've only really got the bowl that you've got to worry about. This is all aluminium, so that's not going to dry out at all. You just you swap that out and you're good. Yeah. But these, you haven't got to dry loads. You take them out. I just stick mine upside down.
Yeah, same.
To dry out, because that's the bit that kind of gets soggy. Exactly. At the bottom underneath, where it contacts with that dry ring. I'll just leave them to dry out, and like next day you're good.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. Yeah, perfect. So tobacco in jars, in the dark. Yeah. Pipes on the rack, preferably, or just somewhere out.
Show them off
where they can air. Yeah, show them off. Why not? Yeah. Just make sure you're airing the pipes out after you've smoked them for sure. Yeah. Right, storage. Number 3 on the list, nicotine sickness. Now, I've already done a video on this, but I think it is worth talking about here.
We've all got it. Yeah. We've all had it. We've all done it
before. Yeah, for sure. I remember the first time that I smoked a cigar. Yeah, I felt ill, dude.
Over exuberance. I've had a couple of drinks. Yeah. This is great. This can never go wrong. I'm going to do this all my life. I'm going to do this loads tonight. What do you mean I'm going to throw all the beer back up? It's not good, and it kind of comes on all of a sudden. It's a bit of it feels sometimes, it can feel like a bit of a rush. Yeah. And then that kind of sick feeling, knotted stomach. You can sometimes get a bit sweaty,
dizzy head,
clammy, dizzy.
Yeah.
It's
not nice.
It's not good.
And the thing is, like you said, it comes on all of a sudden. It kind of it creeps up on you.
Yeah.
So you may have been puffing away, and you may have really had your fill of nicotine about 10 minutes ago, but you've kept going on. And now you're feeling sick.
Yeah. End of the world. Can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
No. Loads you can do about it.
Yeah. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure you got some food in you.
Yeah.
You need some food to put a buffer, like a nicotine buffer. I really don't like to smoke on an empty stomach, so I kind of time my smokes around meals because I think of it as like a final course.
It kind of is.
Yeah. I think of the pipe as like
which is where it would have been, you know, when you sat down and have a smoke with a cigar or a pipe.
Absolutely, yeah. And if I do want a smoke, it's not around a meal time, I get a snack.
Yeah, for sure. And it's to do with like the sugars. It affects your blood sugar, which is why you're feeling so shaky and weak. You know, so something a bit sugary. I prefer, you know, like maybe like a hot drink with some honey in it or some sugar.
Yeah,
that tends to perk me right up. If I've gone a bit too far.
If you've got a drink with some kind of sugars in them, like let's say honey or maple syrup or whatever, it's kind of a preventative measure. You're taking the sugar, it's kind of counteracting the nicotine. But I think, you know, time you smoked around a solid meal, that's a good prevention. Yeah. I think for sure.
You can't really kind of go too wrong. You have to really go some.
Yeah, I mean, there are stronger tobaccos. Like I'm thinking of like Black Twist, the Brown Twist, and the Dark Flakes.
Yeah,
they'll, even if you've got a meal in you, they can get you if you're not careful.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and this is just general pipe smoking advice, but go slow.
Yeah.
You have to go slow because of what we were saying about it creeps up on you.
Yeah.
So you slow your smoke down. You're slowing down the rate that the nicotine is being absorbed. And also, if you're starting to feel like a little, you know, knot in your stomach, a little bit lightheaded, you can put it down. And you can walk away.
And it's good, you know, you come back to it, you know, 15, it doesn't have to be long, 15, 20 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
Get yourself a drink, come back to it, it's still good to smoke.
Yeah, you can leave a pipe and come back and it'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. So, meal, slow down. I think they're the main preventative
And so going forward, you know, your body kind of does get a little bit more resilient.
Oh, you get a tolerance.
Some tolerance.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But then again, you know, you kind of think, oh, that's fine. I've got a decent tolerance now. You buy one particular tobacco, and it'll just kick your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that aged burley flame, I couldn't smoke it without getting sick, and I gave that tin to you, and I said like, look, you know, I've had this tin. It's been cracked for a while. Yeah. It may have gone a little bit stale, but you know, try it out. I couldn't get on with it, and I forgot to tell you that it made me sick, sick as a dog.
Read it.
And I watched you smoke like bowl after bowl of it, and you just took it like a champ. Didn't get sick.
I don't know what that says about my constitution.
And I thought, God, I should have told him.
I don't know if that's something to be proud of or not, but anyway, I'll take it.
So meal, go slow.
Yeah.
Build up a tolerance. So you might want to start with some milder tobaccos before you head straight into Black Twists and Dark Flakes.
What's like Virginias, something a bit milder maybe?
Yeah, I mean, like Virginias would be good. If you like aromatics, that could be a thing that you do.
Yeah.
I was never a huge fan of like the aromatics.
See, I quite like an aromatic.
Yeah.
You know, I like a you know, coffee caramel or a, you know, black cherry.
Yeah.
They're quite smooth.
I did recently get Gareth Hogarth. Do you want some?
Yeah, please.
Get some Gareth Hogarth's Black and Brown aromatic that I think you'll like, man. So I'm going to try that a bit later.
We're on Calvados this time.
Calvados, yeah. Cafe Calva, as they call it. So, if you've got sick though, pull the pipe down.
Yeah.
Go and get some sugar.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the video. I like dark chocolate for it.
Yeah.
I like fruit, a banana, quite high sugar.
Plenty to drink.
Yeah, and get some water.
Get it flushed out.
Yeah. Drink some water and then just lay down and ride it out.
Yeah.
The next 10 minutes is gonna be gross. But just ride it out. The sugar will do its thing. Chocolate, fruit juice, a banana. Yeah. They're my favourites. Yeah. Let it do its thing and ride it out.
Bite down and get through it.
Yeah. And just be more careful next time.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Yeah. So that's nicotine sickness. Can happen to newbies. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Just be more careful.
Yeah.
Right. Lighting and flame sources. So we spoke about this last time, but it got cut. So
this is where me and Harry come to blows. And Harry's a unit and I'm lazy. So Okay. Who's going to win? Okay, well, we're inside. So first of all, so Harry's in his natural environment.
Yeah.
Using the good old swan vesters. Okay, so there's example one of why not use swan vesters. But no, so the good thing about them is, first of all, they're cheap, and they're plentiful. You can get them by the bucketful, can't you?
Yeah.
You tend to buy yours in bulk, which I think is a great shout.
I have been doing that, yeah.
Yeah. But the other good things about them are they're cool. So you're not absolutely roasting your tobacco. They are really portable in the sense that you can kind of manoeuvre them around. So if you've got quite like a tight bowl, I'm thinking something like that Meerschaum pipe that I've got, the cob, where it's quite thin. The bowl's quite thin, so you have to kind of get it down. They're really good for that. And they're good for when you're at the bottom of a bowl, when you've smoked quite a long way down, you can get it right in there. Whereas I typically tend to use a Zippo. So this is I'm going to hold this to the camera. This is a modified Zippo. It's one that they make. It's one of their pipe variety. So you'll see, normally with a Zippo, you kind of got an open chimney and a wick and the flint wheel. The flint wheel, you just hit the flint wheel up and you get the flame, and that normally comes up straight through the top. This one being a pipe, because obviously when you're smoking the pipe, you want that flame to be directly over the top of your bowl. So with this one, you've got a cutout, so you should be able to just see that cutout there, and it's designed to be held horizontally so that when you bring your pipe to your mouth and light, when you fire it up, the flame comes up, and all you're doing is you're using the bottom of the flame, which is the coolest part of the flame. And the other thing that I was getting with my other Zippo, which is just a standard traditional, and they're fine, they're okay. You can light them up. But I was starting to get it where it was blackening the rim of the bowls. You can kind of chew up some of the bowls sometimes. So that's a bit unfortunate. If you want to kind of keep them looking nice, it's not going to kill it. It's fine, but it does start to kind of look a bit worse for wear. So the good thing about the Zippo is, especially the pipe Zippo, is that even when you're getting quite far down your bowl, it will suck that flame as you're pulling to light it. It will suck that flame to where the tobacco is, even if it's quite far down, which is great. You can kind of circle it around so that you're toasting the outside of the bowl, or the outside of the cake inside the bowl. So you're getting a nice round, even coal on there, which is good. And the other good thing is like weather. You haven't got to worry about the wind.
Yeah.
They're not. They say they're windproof. They're not really windproof, but they're kind of wind resistant. You'll keep a good flame going. You haven't got to have loads of shelter to keep a good flame on there. So this just goes in my little pipe pouch that came with my Peterson Aaron, and it's good to go. So who's right and who's wrong?
I think you really said it all, man. I wouldn't add anything to that. The thing about the matches is it's the coolest flame that you can get.
Yeah.
So that's beneficial for your tongue.
Yeah.
But if you're outdoors, if there's even a slight breeze, you're going to be wasting matches.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
The main advantage of the lighter, obviously, is you're outdoors. It's a lot easier to light your pipe. It is the flame is a bit hotter, but I mean I don't think it's anything to be worried about.
Maybe maintenance. You've got kind of lighter maintenance.
There's more maintenance to it,
Sure.
for sure. Yeah. I think I've always been drawn to matches like you said. They're more like manipulable.
Yeah.
You can get them right down to the bottom. Like you said, charring the rims of your pipes.
Yeah.
When I started, I charred my rims a lot,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was part of the game. I just
Yeah.
thought, but it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't.
Because I like a rusticated bowl with a smooth rim.
Yeah.
And I was burning the rims. But with a match, you can be more, you've got greater control over it, and so
It's be careful.
yeah. So, but it's what's good for you. Just the one thing to stay away from is like torch flames, where it's like a jet.
Yeah.
The flame is too hot.
Too hot.
You're at risk of cracking your bowl.
Yeah.
Certainly a risk of burning your mouth.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you want a yellow flame. Really.
Yeah.
You don't want a blue flame.
No. In terms of lighting technique, so again, it's something we kind of covered just very briefly, but at first you want to char the top of the leaf.
Yeah.
So you never light a pipe on the first go.
No.
it's called the false light or the char, and you just get that tobacco toasted on top.
You want it just a slightly, so if your tobacco's it's easy to see when your tobacco's quite dark, it'll just start to kind of whiten up, won't it, on the edges, just on the tops. And then as soon as you start to get that, you get your tamper, give it a little tamp down, just crush them so that you've got a nice fine sort of even sort of salt and pepper looking coat at the top, and go again.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you said it. And then go again. Yeah, and this is something that people seem to get concerned about, like relights. Like they want to, light a pipe once to smoke it the whole way through.
Never happens.
It doesn't happen, and there's no medals for doing that. I relight a pipe several times.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
No, not at all.
You're gonna have to light it more than once.
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You're not smoking cigars.
Exactly.
You're not smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
These things are going to go out likely, and you have to relight. It's no biggie.
I mean, you'll find that as you're smoking them, the draw is going to loosen up because you've smoked the tighter tobacco at the top. You're getting towards the looser stuff. That's where the tamping comes in.
It's all about the packing as well.
Yeah.
Getting the packing right.
Exactly. The packing, you get the packing right. You get it tighter at the top and looser at the bottom. And as you feel the draw is loosening up, you just tamp it back down, and that keeps the burning leaf in contact with the leaf below it, and it will keep like a steady burn.
You get a good sort of solid coal at the top then, don't you? And it kind of burns down nicely. As it starts to loosen when it gets to the bottom, if it's been packed nicely, you don't want the looser stuff at the bottom. It'll just gently start to filter down the chimney in the bowl. Yeah. And away you go. I think I don't kind of have to worry quite so much with a match. With a lighter, I tend to kind of use a couple of motions to try and get it lit nicely and to sort of char it up evenly. So I'll tend to kind of go around the bowl, then, being an ortho bro, I'll make the sign of the cross, I'll kind of cross it so that I'm covering it. But also I think as it's kind of going down, I tend not to try not to overburn as it's getting looser. It starts to get hot.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I was going to come on to. As you're smoking the bowl down, the flame source, whatever flame source you're using, match lighter, that's now getting closer to your mouth.
Yeah.
And if you're like really giving it some, you're just drawing that heat directly into your mouth.
Yeah, you're gonna.
And you will burn.
Yeah.
You will burn your tongue. You burn the roof of your mouth.
Yeah.
So when you're lighting, whether you're charring from the top or whether you're relighting a half smoked bowl, you want to just gently tease that leaf with the flame.
That's it.
So you want to hold the flame a couple of millimeters above the leaf, and you want to use your breath to gently like tease the leaf with the flame. You want to be sucking it right in. You just want to gently tease that.
I like as well to kind of not have it static, so I'll not just hold it in one place.
Right. Yeah.
I like to wipe mine across.
Yeah. Or circular.
Circular.
Yeah. Keep it moving. And just gently draw it in because like as I said, the closer you get into the bottom of that bowl, the closer the heat is getting to your mouth.
It's kind of a feel thing as well, isn't it? You kind of with experience, naturally you'll just kind of develop your own technique that works for you, and you'll go with it and stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's way better to use your breath to rekindle a dying flame than it is to slow down a bonfire.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you can do that. By the way, if you're feeling, again, you're kind of smoking away, thinking, "Oh, I'm not getting much off this." Chances are, you might not necessarily have to go back to your lighter or your matches. A couple of good tugs, and away it goes again.
Exactly.
You'll start to get it going. The three things for fire. You've got fuel, you've got oxygen, and you've got heat. So if it's kind of just starting to, you don't have to get necessarily heat on there. You want to keep that. The idea is you want to keep it only the minimum amount of heat possible to get a good smoke. So what you really want is oxygen in there to get it going. So give it a good draw. Draw it through a few times. That Calvados is really good. Draw it through a few times, and the chances are you'll be back away, won't you?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing to do is you can tamp your pipe while you're drawing on it. So and you can feel the draw slightly tightening up. And keep that flame in contact with the leaf, and good lighting. I think we nailed that one. Let's go on to cake, because cake is.
I was so paranoid.
People get hung up on it. I mean, I know I did.
Yeah.
And in some instances, I do think, like that's not caking up as much as I like.
My pipe hasn't caked yet. Who can I call?
Yeah. So, what is cake? So, cake is I mean, people who cook with cast iron can understand what cake is. So when you get a cast iron pan, you season the pan by high temperatures, cooking and carbonizing fats and oils onto the pan, and it creates over time this smooth surface or patina that covers the pan, and it creates like a better release on meats and foods that are in the pan. And it's the same kind of principle with a pipe. Whenever you burn the leaf in the briar, there is a layer of carbonization on the inside of the bowl.
Yeah, not all of it effectively. Not all of it turns to smoke.
Right.
That it will absorb when it's new, and it's like the wood grain is still fairly open. It will absorb to some extent some of that tobacco and the oils in the tobacco.
Yeah.
Right. And will effectively just turn into a thin layer of carbon, which just builds up over time.
Yeah, exactly. So why do you want that? So you want that primarily to protect your pipe from the heat of the flame. So it kind of acts like a bit of a heat sink, like a bit of a cooler.
Yeah, and also, like with a great analogy with the cast iron, because we're both cast iron advocates as well.
Yeah.
You totally red pilled me on that. But the other good thing they say about a cast iron is that you get a skillet, it gets better the more you use it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you need to use it to season it.
Yes.
That's the best way of seasoning it. Cook with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's the same with a pipe. So the thing that I was really hung up about was like, oh, is it even? I'm only getting a bit at the bottom, at the top.
Yeah.
It's not going out at the bottom. Then I was listening to the mutton chop pipe, and he was like, don't worry about it. If that's the way you smoke it, you just smoke the top bit. Fine. Good for you. But that was kind of bugging me. So how will we kind of get around it? So when I first started, and I wanted something to cake quite evenly, I was only really filling half a bowl, which is what Falcon actually recommend.
Yeah.
To just half fill a bowl to start with. First maybe 5 or 6 smokes, and then you can kind of keep topping up. That's okay. Just kind of swap your bowls out. Just keep using the first half of the bowl to smoke from. But I think I was really, being honest, I was a bit paranoid about it.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was going to ask you, if you'd ever done an intentional break-in. So a lot of people, they recommend that you break in your pipe. Meaning,
I've heard bad stories.
Have you?
I've heard bad stories. Yeah, I've heard guys that have used honey. I've heard guys that have used sugar syrup and all sorts of different ingredients. Yeah, and they kind of smear it around the inside and then burn it. But I think there be dragons for me.
Yeah.
I think if that was going to be the case, it's like unnatural. I'm using it to smoke. I'm not really kind of using it to break in.
Yeah.
So I know guys who've done it, but me personally, over the last 12 months, I've been like, nah. The only thing that's going in this is Baccy.
Yeah. I mean, I would never be tempted to put like any kind of foreign substance in there to cake it. I've never done an intentional break-in. So some people recommend, like you said, smoking half bowls at first. Some people recommend 5 bowls at a third, 5 bowls at 2/3, and then 5 bowls full. I never intentionally did a break-in. Every now and then, if I thought a pipe was caking unevenly, maybe I smoked a half bowl. But the thing that I do is I chase my leaf down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And when I find that the tobacco is not doing so well at the bottom, I use the spike on the tool to just flip over the plug.
Yeah.
And then I can get a bit more life out of that.
Totally. Another thing as well is that you can always cut a cake back. If you're finding that it's cutting, it's caking up at the top and not at the bottom, just trim the top cake.
Yeah.
And the bottom will just naturally kind of cake up and meet up with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's another thing is maintenance. There will be a point when you'll have the opposite worry, which is that it's caking up too much. Yeah. If you've got a favourite pipe that you smoke a lot, it can cake up too much. And sometimes you see these like old, they call them estate pipes. These these old men have been smoking.
The old guys.
They don't care about maintenance at all. They don't probably never put a pipe cleaner through it.
There's ironically, there's like that much left of chimney to go at.
Yeah, and you couldn't get your little finger down it.
Yeah.
And it's caked up. So you want to cut it back.
Yeah.
1, so that you can actually fit tobacco in it.
Yeah.
2, because the heat causing the cake to expand and contract can crack your bowl.
But what about sort of the benefits? So there's kind of worries about over caking a bowl. But what about the benefits of having cake in there?
So the benefit, like I said first, is that it's got the heat sink.
Yeah.
So it's gonna protect your briar, and it's gonna have a cooler smoke too.
Absorb moisture?
Yeah. I find that my pipes, they're caked up more nicely, so my Porter Servo there, that's got like a lovely cake on it by this point, so I've smoked it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a cooler smoke, it's a drier smoke, it smokes more leaf down to the bottom, like a falcon would.
Yeah.
And something we talked about last time was ghosting, and we talked about it in like a negative light, but there is a positive light to ghosting, which is that, say if you have a pipe that you do like to smoke on blend in, which I'm not necessarily advocating for, but if you do, you may find that the characteristics of that blend are kind of being like stored in the pipe, and when you smoke that blend in the same pipe, it's bringing out those characteristics that you enjoy.
For sure.
A bit more prominently.
I'd say so. And as well, you know, the more sort of porous the pipes, so like with cobs especially, which are a porous type. You know, I messaged you early on saying like, I smoked my cob the other day. It was great. I didn't get any slobber in it at all, and I've not smoked it in ages. And because it's porous, and the beauty about that carbon layer, that cake inside, is that it's a little bit porous and it'll draw some of that moisture out. So for a slobberer like me, it's a really good thing to have.
I'm a wet smoker too.
But you can have too much of a good thing. To keep it. So how much before you start trimming it back would you say?
They say like about a mil, don't they? Like a millimetre.
Like a fingernail?
Like a fingernail's width. Yeah. It shouldn't be too much. It's just enough to provide an even layer around the bowl. I think that's cake. Yeah. So, and I think the last one that we wanted to talk about was pipes in media.
Bro.
Yeah.
We've all seen them.
Yeah.
I call it hobbiting. You know, the guys at work. I'm like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Well, you know, I'm going to record a pipe cast with Harry.
Yeah.
I'm going hobbiting.
Yeah.
You know, went out fishing earlier on, got a pipe. I'm like, oh, you're hobbiting to the max today. You know, you've seen the guys on the Hobbit. You know, and the Lord of the Rings. Some of the big church wardens. You know, but I messaged you the other day when I was watching one of the Bond films. You got M, and he's got his Woodstock in there. He's puffing away. Looks great.
Yeah, man. And I think the main one when people think about pipes in media, people think about Tolkien. Because obviously he was a man that loved his pipe. Daily smoker. And he put that into his work where his characters, they love their pipe too. And he's writing, hobbits and the Shire as like, quintessential little England.
It was the ideal, wasn't it?
Kind of like this idyllic vision
the
of
smoking of pipe weed and the brewing of ales.
Exactly. And so you see, I mean, if you've read the books, I think like Peter Jackson does a great job of like bringing it through on the screen, but like the great amount of like comfort that it brings to them, and it's like
it's a community thing as well, wasn't it? All of their kind of friends, they all go to the Green Dragon.
Exactly.
Dance on the tables.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed recently that like when you look at some of like when Fellowship of the Ring comes on and Concerning Hobbits is playing, you can see the like the working class hobbits in the field, and then you've got these like little short stubby corn cobs. Maybe they clay, and then like sort of like the Hobbit nobility, they've got like the long church wardens, which aren't really described in the book. I think that was Jackson's like stylistic, artistic choice.
It was a good shot. As well, you kind of got Aragorn, the way that some of the outsiders sort of take it on as well, like Gandalf and Aragorn, you sort of see him, hooded over, with his church warden out.
Great scene.
And Gandalf the same. He's kind of puffing away, blowing smoke rings with Bilbo.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like Gandalf is a Maor, which is like kind of like a lesser angel kind of thing in the mythology. But he's taken the form of this old man, and he really loves hobbits. Like he loves the way they live their lives, and so he picks up the habit of smoking a pipe. And Saruman like chides him for it. He's like, you're smoking too much of the leaf, and it's clouding your mind, and
yellowing your teeth.
But then when they capture Isengard, he's actually got like long bottom leaf.
He's got barrels and barrels of old Toby.
So he was actually into it. So I think like Tolkien is, and I mean for me, I think it was a large influence, to be honest, in in why I kind of like wanted to try it because
I remember years ago though I was thinking, it'd be great to get a pipe. Some of the old guys that used to come into to the old club that I used to work in, they'd come in, he'd bring his sort of tin and crack it open. Oh, that smells great. But never really sort of picked it up until you got me into it.
And I think the other one is Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I really got into the books a few years ago, and it's kind of his thinking tool. You know, when he's, I think it says somewhere in the books that when he's thinking on a case, he'll get through like a pound of shag. He's just like puffing away. Yeah. And probably at the time he's on a clay pipe, probably.
Yeah. Not the calabash.
No, not the calabash that you see. No, it probably would have been a clay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's his thinking tool, and again, this is something we talked a little bit about last time. But I do think it's a thinking aid. Yeah,
because it kind of clears your mind. You're focusing on just what you're doing, about your draw, about your technique, about lighting it. You kind of your inhaling method. All that kind of stuff. Your thinking's a little bit clearer. You're not worried about work. You're not worried about what the kids are doing.
Yeah.
This is kind of pipe time. You're just kind of worried about sitting down, having a smoke.
It's just set aside time. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to sort of pick up on, and something that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, was about Inglourious Bastards.
Right.
And the scene where the Jew hunter comes.
What's his name?
It'll come back to me.
It's
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
It's Hans Lander.
Yeah.
When he comes to the French farmer's house, the French farmer's got a clay pot.
He's got a little clay.
Yeah. So it's obviously quite humble, and small.
Yeah.
And rustic. It's not rusticated, but it's a rustic kind of pipe, a typical sort of farmer's pipe. And he starts puffing away, and then Lander brings out this massive calabash. He's really sort of going for it. And the thing that I found really interesting was in an interview with Quentin Tarantino, when he was chatting about that scene, he was talking to Christoph Waltz about it, and he asked Christoph Waltz, he said, does Lander smoke a pipe because he does smoke a pipe habitually, or is he just doing it as a way of breaking through to the farmer, as a way of almost kind of saying like, my dick's bigger than yours.
Yeah, it's a dick measuring competition.
Yeah. And he said, he doesn't smoke a pipe. It's all a show. And I said to you, like, me of 12 months ago, I'd have been like, oh yeah, that's really cool. And now I think, no, it's not for real. I'd spot me of 12 months ago, was kind of puffing away, like tamping away and messing around with it. And he's so cool with it. It's all very natural. And I think now, no, he wouldn't have looked like that. He would have, if he didn't smoke a pipe. When people say to you, when he's sat in the pub or outside the pub, because you can't smoke in the pub, but he'll sit outside the pub and smoking, and they see you with a pipe, like, you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
Or it's a real art. They say it's the art of pipe smoking. It's an art form. I think it is, and for those who've not done it to start with, I think that I'd spot that. I'd like to think that me now would spot Lander as a non-pipe smoker.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it. I'll have to watch it again, but. Yeah, it's a great scene because the Frenchman, he asks like, do you mind if I smoke like that? And he's like, does your hat? Yeah. And then he pulls it out. So like he wouldn't have wanted to smoke the pipe unless like the French guy had brought it up and then he could like outdo him. Yeah. It's a good point because when people mind pipe smoking, they put like the hand to mouth and go, which if you actually did, you would roast your mouth. Yeah. So yeah, good point. You don't see it so much. It's not. I mean, smoking in the media just lately is. I mean, you don't see it all. Cigarettes have gone out the window.
Yeah, for sure. But I kind of think of those old Bond films. They're all sort of sat around in M's office, and M's kind of they're all beavering away on a plan.
Yeah.
He's kind of got his straight going on, and they're all sort of scribbling away and sort of working out how they're going to defuse the nuclear bomb and rescue the girl and stuff. But even just when I look at some of the old sort of psychologists. Astronomers, you kind of see all the, I'm thinking like, Sir Patrick Moore and Carl Jung, all these guys who've, they've all got the pipe on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, Carl Jung loved the pipe. If you look at some of the old photos, he looks like he's got kind of a falcon. He's got like a detachable bowl on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recently read Flowers for Algernon, and I can't remember the author, but I mean, it's a great book. I would recommend it. Basically, the premise is it's a diary kind of written from the perspective of the main character, and he starts off with an IQ of like 68 or something, and he undergoes this experimental treatment surgery where his IQ is increased, and his IQ is increasing every day. And one of the few things that he picks up as his IQ is increasing is start to smoke a pipe.
There you go. When Hollywood was good, eh?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't. It's I think The Hobbit probably was the last thing that came out where pipe smoking was featured prominently.
In New Zealand,
yeah,
of all places.
Of all places, yeah. But you can't separate Tolkien from his pipe smoking.
No.
His characters smoke pipe.
It was the ideal.
Yeah.
You know, I think that comes through in the work.
Why do you think elves don't smoke pipes? Because obviously, hobbits smoke pipes. The dwarves, you see Gimli smoking. The Numenor, the Dunedain, they smoke. Gandalf smokes. Why do you think the elves don't smoke?
Is it a culture thing that they're not Middle Earth race? They're not originally a Middle Earth race, that they kind of came in. I don't know, but the elves have kind of definitely got like an otherness to them, like an otherworldly. When they see them, when they see them, they look quite ethereal, and they're kind of they're moving away. They're going home. It feels like they're kind of going back to where they kind of came from.
I think that's a good point, because like the elves, they have like a more subtle body. They have a subtle body. Hobbits are close to the earth. Dwarves come from the earth.
And hobbits grow stuff, right? It's the leaf.
Yeah.
They kind of grow it in the same with the beer. You think you got to grow the grain.
Yeah.
And the hops.
True. Yeah.
That's a growing thing. It's an earth thing.
Yeah. Whereas the elves, they don't feel cold. They don't feel the extremities.
Yeah.
When Legolas in the books, it mentions that when they're climbing Caradhras, the mountain, he doesn't sink into the snow. Like their bodies are almost like you said, ethereal, like almost not there. And tobacco smoking it's like earthy and bodily, and it's to do with like materiality to an extent. So.
And take some processing, there's a bit of labour to it.
Yeah.
It's been grown, you've got to treat it, you've got to cut it and shred it and pack it and store it, and you're treating it with syrup or honey or whatever it is, to store it with. And I thought that seems kind of more inherently like an earthly kind of worldly thing to do. It's about labour. You don't kind of really see that with the elves. The more sort of spiritual kind of people.
Saying that though, in The Hobbit, Bilbo picks the keys from the elf butler who's smashed on wine. So
True.
They do make wine, and they send it down the barrel. They send it in the barrels down the river to Dale. So
True.
Yeah.
They just never caught on.
Yeah. It's weird. It's something that I think about.
And they're a bit effeminate.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Right. I think we did it.
Good.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. That was the stuff we missed from last time.
More to come.
Yeah, we've got some ideas for stuff that we want to do in the future. Also, if you're a beginner and you think there's stuff that we didn't cover, put it in the comments and we can do a short video on it. We can cover it in a short one.
I mean, it's a tough job, but somebody's going to have to sit here and drink coffee and smoke pipes and chat rubbish.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it. It might as well be us.
We will bear that cross.
We'll take it, man.
Right. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. God bless.